Welcome to the podcast. The Aging Queen. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. And welcome back to another episode of The Aging Queen. We have one of our regular guests, James from Columbus, Ohio, on also with us this
Oh,
afternoon.
hello.
How are you, James?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, having a bit of a day, but I think everything's gonna work out. So it's fine. It's just one of those crazy days.
I can
Um,
understand that. Yeah.
yeah. Um, some days it's sunshine and other days it's kind of cloudy. So you just gotta roll with the punches, as they say.
Very true.
So we have a new topic for today to discuss. Something that we've been mulling over
Hmm.
lately. Dating apps, are they killing love? Are more people falling out of love or getting out of the love market, would you say, out of the dating scene? Are people just happy to be, alone or just find some kind of comfort with online chatting? This is what we're going to discuss today on The Aging Queen. A quick little note, we put a lot of energy behind our episodes. We'd love to hear from you to see what other topics you would love for us to discuss. So, wherever you listen to this podcast, there's usually a place where you can leave your comments. We really welcome any feedback. We'd love to hear from you. And again, if you like our episodes, please like and subscribe and comment. Welcome back. And James, what's your opinion? What do you think about dating apps? They good? They bad? Somewhere in between?
I think I would definitely say somewhere in between because there are people out there who have had great success and found the loves of their lives on
Mhm.
dating apps, and then there are people out there who have just had horrible experiences on them. Um, I personally am not really. I don't really use the dating apps right now. Just it's at some point in time, like every now and then I will use them, but then when I feel like they're becoming more of a negative influence in my life, like if they're causing me any sort of like negativity mentally, I'm just like, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to. You get tired of the games, you get tired of of just the silliness that happens on the apps, and then I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm off. Let me just go live my single life
Mhm.
for a
Yeah.
while. So yeah, so that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you kinda gravitate back to the dating apps as, use it as a tool between relationships, I guess. But I think there's also some folks, um, that are just eternally single and might be addicted, might or might not be addicted to just dating or kind of casually or just hooking up. I mean, do you know friends that have never really been in relationships and just kind of maybe keep falling in love and after a month they fall out?
Well, so when we talk about dating apps, I mean, obviously in the gay community, we have so many different apps for everything.
Yeah, and they're all
Like,
kind of tailored for specific
right, like, there are some
reasons.
apps that, specifically are sort of meant for dating, but then other apps are specifically meant for sex.
Right,
Even though, and some people will say, they get on certain apps for dating, but really it's kind of like it's a hookup app. Um,
right.
and so it really kind of depends. Like, I guess to answer your question, I know plenty of gay men who are single, who get on the apps, who they might have some dates, they might meet up with people from the apps for hookups. Um, I can't really say. I mean, I can only say, what they tell me. Like, if you tell me that you're looking for a relationship, then that's just what I'm gonna, I guess, believe. Um, but of course, there are plenty of my friends who, some of them don't necessarily want that.
Right.
Some of them just want to have sex, and they'll get
Mhm.
on the apps and they'll find people to have sex with, and then go on their merry way.
Yeah, so I think I'm talking more about love,
Mm,
relationships, not just hookup or casual stuff. Um, because I think it's interesting to analyze that. I think in the Western world, especially here in the U.S. and in Europe, um, we as gay people can live a very open life,
mhm.
authentic life, and it's just interesting to kind of analyze to see if these apps have helped or hindered to create these kind of relationships. Did it kill love? Did these apps kill love and just make it? Because I'll tell you personal experience. I felt when put myself out there to date, put myself out there in the market. I feel like you have to really jump through hoops and have kind of abide by these impossible standards. Social media has made everyone needs, it made it feel like you have to be in complete and utter perfect shape, and everything about your life has to be in order, and you have to be perfect. um, so when people, have not, they're not going to stop, basically, having casual relationships. So I have felt that the standards are quite high for dating, unless love just smacks you up against the head. Um, I don't know. What's your experience?
I mean, in talking about your experience, I think that people's standards can definitely be unrealistic,
Hmm.
um, because nobody's perfect. And that's the whole thing about forming, like, creating a relationship with somebody, is that you learn that no one's perfect. Like, you kind of learn to sort of love those imperfections in the other person.
Right.
Um, for me, I've had some great successes on dating apps. I have met some wonderful people. I even met my ex-husband on one of those apps.
That's right.
Um, we were together for ages. Um, and so I don't think they're a bad thing, because I feel like in the way that we've changed how we meet people. Like when I was younger, we met people in bars because gay bars were our safe space, and so you'd go when you were in a gay bar, you would be around gay people, and that's where you met people.
Right, but I
Um,
think, to interject here, there was something more romantic about seeing a guy across the bar, making like eye contact, and both of you realizing that you like each other. And if online dating were to mimic that kind of interaction, then immediately both would have to show their naked pics to each other within 3 minutes. So
but
it's
not really,
oh,
because like when you think about meeting, like, seeing somebody at the bar who catches your eye. I mean, obviously, you can still have that experience. There are still people still go to bars, people still meet up at the bars, and you know form relationships and do all kinds of things. And it's a wonderful thing. But I feel like if you're talking about love and sort of the apps mimicking a bar, I guess the equivalent of that would be having a conversation, and just kind of continuing on with that conversation, instead of sending your naked pictures within the first 3 minutes. Like, for me, that says sex.
right.
That's saying you want to hook up with me. That doesn't say that you want a relationship with me. Well, for me,
But
I
don't you
need.
think that sex comes in the gay world, sex comes first? You
Not
you don't
always.
you don't really feel, I mean, you gotta, it's one of those situations where you have to have sex first to
No,
feel like that connection is there,
I
no?
don't agree with that. Not at all.
Okay.
No. Like, I have I have talked to plenty of guys online who I've gone on a date with eventually, and it's been hours and hours of conversations. And honestly, for me, that's what I need,
Oh,
uh,
absolutely,
to
I mean,
start a
I
relationship. Like, I need you to engage me mentally,
mentally, yeah.
so that I can be attracted to you. And then, of course, obviously, being attracted to someone physically is great, but of course, like when you start off, with online, everything is just words, and there might be a few
Do
pictures,
they
but
do that nowadays? Because everyone gets busy, there's work, you gotta walk your dog, you gotta take care of elderly parents. There's, Taylor Swift concerts to go to.
I
Do
can't.
people have time to really, be romantic and kind of do that pen pal, kind of thing of, "Hello, good morning, check-in, continual checkup
I mean,
on."
I can't answer for everyone. I can only answer for myself, obviously.
Do you
So
have the energy to do that right now? To
if
actually
I'm
find.
if I'm interested, yes. Like in my mind,
Mm,
if I'm interested in someone, I make the time for them. That's
right.
that's what I do. Like that, and that's honestly for me. If you make the time for me, that says a lot.
I
You
have
know,
found from experience that a lot of people will never meet up. They just like the constant chatting because it makes them feel less lonely, and they're connecting emotionally to someone. But they either have fear of meeting up, or they know deep down inside that they're never going to date you, but they still can get something out of it. So it's yeah, I think there's gotta be, yes, you gotta find the correct app, but also maybe there's a formula that's effective. Maybe getting them on a physical date right away and stopping the constant, chatter online. Have you ever done
well,
that?
one of the things that I find if is um if you're interested in going out with somebody, don't be vague. Don't
Right,
say stuff like, "Well, let's hang out sometime." Be more specific. Be more like I would say like, "What are you doing Wednesday night?"
right.
Or like things like that, because then it's like you're giving that person a day and a time, and if they say, "Oh, I can't, I'm busy," but then that they might be like, "Well, but you know what? I'm free on Thursday if you'd like to hang out." I find a lot of times when I or someone else says, "Well, we should hang out sometime." The conversation goes, "We should hang out sometime," and then, "Yeah, we should," and then that's where it dies. Like
Mhm.
if because no one's making the actual plan, like somebody needs to come up with a plan. Um, and once you come up with the plan, like if I say, "Hey, you know what? I'm thinking about. Would you be interested in going and having a drink with me?" Are meeting me for coffee on Thursday at this place and time. You could say, "Yeah, that'd be cool," or "No, and I can't, but maybe I can do it on Thursday,"
Right.
or so
Can you find love on Grinder?
anything is possible.
Right. Mhm. I've actually met a lot of friends through these apps. I don't know which ones. There's so many. In Europe, there was one called Bender. Um, that was pretty cool.
Hmm.
Then there's Scruff. I think is a very specific type of app. Grinder, of course. There was Growler for a while, and then of course in Europe there was the Romeo. Remember that one?
It's where I met my husband, ex-husband.
Oh wow!
Yep.
Look at that.
Yep.
That was a desktop and a phone app, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was a desktop and a phone app for sure. And back then it was called
Gay
Planet
Romeo.
Romeo. Well,
Planet Romeo.
actually, you know what? It used to be Gay Romeo, but then it changed its name to Planet Romeo. I don't know if it might. I think it's still around.
Let's do it. Let's try this.
But it's been forever since I've been on that. But I remember it was an app for mostly European people. There weren't a lot of people
Right.
in the United States on it at the time. Um,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, now it's just called
mm,
Romeo.com.
nice.
So it's you have to accept all these things to go in, but it exists. So they've kind of morphed into, it says get the free Romeo app now, chat with lots of gay, bi, trans, and queer people nearby and worldwide.
Mhm. Yeah,
This is great that we have different apps, different tools.
sure.
Um, I think, which some are tailored to, certain types of goals of what you want in dating, and others are,
True.
yeah.
But also, like one of the nice things about the apps is if, for instance, like you're going to be traveling somewhere, you can also look at the people online and potentially make a new friend early. Like I years ago on my very first trip to, I guess it was my first trip to Germany, but I knew I was going to be in Germany for a while. Um, I made a friend online, um, and we're still friends today. Like anytime I go to Germany, specifically Berlin, I still go and hang out with him. We always try to meet up. We've just stayed friends for all these years, and gosh, it's at this point it's been almost 20 years. you know.
So let's say we don't lack for tools of connecting.
hmm
What makes it what makes the you fall in love, basically? So we're not talking about hookups or sex. We're talking about falling in love, possibly getting into a relationship that hopefully is long term. What will make you feel that you believe that this person has the qualities just from chatting and stuff in order to take it to the next level of meeting in person? And then once you meet in person, what makes you realize that you want to see him again? Is it those butterflies, as people say, in your stomach? Is it that you feel nervous around them? For you, what qualifies the beginning steps of falling in love? Have you ever been in love?
Well, yes, I have been in love many times. I give my heart easily, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um, I would say for me, the first thing that I notice is comfort. Like, does this person make me feel comfortable? And is this person comfortable around me? Like, am I free to say what's on my mind, or am I still having to sort of like sort of filter what I'm saying? Once I feel comfortable enough in the conversation, I guess is with as far as however the conversation has gone, then I'm most likely will be willing to meet up with that person. And there's no specific time, like some people you just instantly have that connection where you're like, man, this person just, they get me. Um, and other people, it takes a lot longer until you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe, yeah, we can meet up somewhere. Now, obviously, like when it comes to meeting somewhere, I personally tend to go for public places because, um, in my mind, I'm kind of like I don't want to put myself in any sort of like potential danger.
Hmm.
So I'm I'm usually like I actually don't drink coffee, but if someone I have gone on dates to coffee shops where I've gotten something other than coffee. I have met people at crowded, well, I won't say crowded parks, but public parks, where there's people around, just because sometimes you don't want to be stuck with that person. So in my mind, I'm
Right.
like, if I can walk and talk with this person, then that's kind of a cool thing. And there have been times when,
The
I've
walk
met.
and talk is a really good way to get to know someone.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like I love that. And it's also the nice thing is, if you meet somebody and you're walking, you're talking, and you just realize there's really no connection and you both kind of
Yeah.
understand that, then no harm done. Thanks for hanging out with me, and then you
Right.
leave. I've I've
Yeah.
I've had that happen, and then I've also had it where I've met someone and we walked and talked and we realized that we really enjoyed each other's company, and then we moved on to like lunch.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's for sure yeah, I think I it, it's almost like the it factor. You just don't know. That's why I feel you can't really fall in love. You fall in love with the idea of a person online because they're great writers or they text beautifully and they respond and they say everything you want to hear. That happens to a lot of people, Um, but you really got to smell them. You got to see them in person. We're still human. We're still animals, and there's something about the pheromones that drive you crazy or make you feel things, right?
I was kind of wondering where you're going when you said smell them, but I was like, okay.
You
Um,
gotta smell them, and it's that kinda smell that it's not the body odor that's, kind of like, available to anyone to smell. It's not like the
Right.
Metro kind of body odor.
No, I mean, I
It's the
understand.
pheromones, the kind of smell
Yes.
that you react to, instinctually, you know?
Yeah, no, I
Um
I I get that. I think for me, I would agree with the fact that I am probably not going to fall in love with somebody just from talking with them online.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, I'm gonna definitely be interested, and work towards seeing where things go. But if it's just online conversation, then you're essentially a pen pal, until
Right.
you meet in person, which is kind of funny to think about that there people I guess we don't really have pen pals anymore, because people don't write letters. Um, and not in that sense, not like back in the day. Um,
Mhm.
I totally just dated myself because I did have a pen pal when I was younger. Um, and but yes, and because that's just part of getting to know someone, like meeting up with them in person, you know? Like
Yeah.
words are nice, but then when you meet someone in person, you really get to know them. You get to see their quirks. And in your case, you get to smell them, you know?
Yep.
You get to see all the little things that may or may not matter to you, like I
Right.
guess what they look like, what they dress like, how tall are they?
Mhm.
Um, it's just, all of these things sort of factor in to, is this person, do you want to be in a relationship with them,
Right.
you know? So,
Yeah, and then sometimes, right, they gotta make it through the 3 months, the 6 months, the 9 months, the year, because you start getting to know them better and knowing how they treat, the waiter or their friends and their parents, and,
yeah,
there's a
and
lot of tests, that they have to go through, right?
I personally I don't have a time set. Like I'm not one of those people who's like, you know what, after a year we're gonna move in together, or, and in 6 months you're gonna meet my mom. I don't have that. Like for me, it's just kind of like, um, it's a natural progression. Like when we feel we're ready for these things, then we
Right.
do them. It's like, okay, you know what, we've been together long enough, and I know, like I've met people who have who have known people for less than a year and they got married and they're happy.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and I have known people who have been engaged for 10
10
years,
years, yeah,
you know, but that's just how their relationship works. Everybody's different.
right.
So,
Yeah, so it all depends, it's different for everyone, but I would say, when I was living in Europe, it was important for when someone kinda liked you or started to like you, it was important for their friends to give the seal of approval straight away. So
mhm.
if you got introduced to, that person's friends, that was a very good sign. Where I don't know if it's such a standard, or the same here in the States, I think it's more individualistic, and they don't really care what the friends think of you, right?
I
Could I
would
be wrong?
say it really kind of depends, because
Yeah.
for a lot of us, our friends are our family. So, um,
I've never had friends here introduce like, I've had them introduce, their, their partners when they are partners, but not when they're dating. It seems like it's a very private thing. They go on one-on-one dates, but not kind of like, "Oh, come to the barbecue and meet my friends
I've
early
seen it
on."
here.
Early
I've
on.
seen I've
You?
definitely seen it here because, like, I know, in my last relationship that I had,
Mhm.
it was during COVID.
Right,
So obviously a lot of my friends didn't get to meet him, but they wanted to. A lot of my friends were like, "Well, when do we get to meet him?" Like they were genuinely excited for me, and they were like, "When do we get to meet him?" And I was just kind of like, we'll try to make that happen because I
right.
really wanted them to meet him. But of course, with it when it was, of course, was COVID, it was a little harder to do.
Yeah.
Um,
But still, would you have introduce them to your friends very early on, or would you have waited until you kind of knew that this is someone that you wanna spend more time with?
I would have waited till I was comfortable with the situation.
Yeah,
Um,
and
because
if your friends didn't like him, what would you do?
well, my friends don't necessarily have to like him. I have to like him. You know,
Well,
like
that's what I'm getting at.
you
In
know.
Europe, I'm telling you, at least in Spain, it's if their friends don't like you, you ain't going to the next level. I'm telling you that.
I can say from personal experience, I have dated several people who my friends did not like.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
when the relationship ended, they were happy.
Yeah.
But they always wished me well, even
Yeah.
though like they didn't necessarily approve of that person.
Yeah.
They wish me well and
Well, sometimes your friends can know when someone is toxic for you or just not the best option for you,
true.
better than you can because 'cause you're kind of, lost in love, you know,
That is very true. Sometimes people can see things that you can't see because you're too
blinded.
close. Yes,
Yeah.
you're blinded. You're blinded by love in that instance.
I've always had to have I've been I need something to be I need that Cupid's arrow. I'm so oblivious of things,
Hmm.
even honestly, even in high school, when I was in high school and I wasn't out, but all these girls that kind of I didn't know that liked me. I mean, I knew I had a prom dates, I had homecoming dates and all that stuff, but I was a virgin. I never really did anything with anyone. I did have a first kiss in high school and homecoming, but it was one of those things that as those girlfriends or those friends of mine who were girls, we were friends thereafter high school. They admitted to me that they had crushes on me or they really liked me or they wished they would date me. So I was totally oblivious. Of course, I wasn't out and I was just suppressing my gay feelings. And that's why I really wasn't picking up on what they were, sending over. But I'm still a little oblivious. So I really need for someone to almost basically say, "Hey, I like you," for me to get it, or those um butterflies. If I get the feelings like that nervous stage fright kind of feeling, then I know I'm I'm dealing with something that's more of a real connection,
I guess I don't necessarily know if I need that because I
Yeah.
well I would
You're
say first
cerebral.
I mean in I will say in high school I did nothing. I did not know myself in high school, so I was single throughout high school. I was that nerdy kid. I wasn't
I
interested in dating.
Yeah,
I didn't go
same
to
way.
prom. I didn't go to any of those things.
Well, I had to go
Um,
to prom because I was junior class president, so it's like we worked all year to make
yeah.
prom happen. So,
Yeah, see, not me. I
um,
didn't have to do that.
yeah,
But now I guess as an adult, now obviously I would say in general, I can be clueless if someone is finds me attractive in person,
right.
but I'm finding that recently I've had several experiences where uh, guys have been very obvious in showing their attraction for me. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm seeing this and my friends are seeing this,
Yeah,
then that person is being very obvious because
overt, yeah.
like in my mind, I'm like, okay, like I had a situation this past Saturday where I was out with friends and
Mhm.
someone was just so overtly hitting on me that even that one of my friends who I was standing next to, he said that he was uncomfortable because he was like, I feel uncomfortable just seeing what I just saw. And I was like, yeah, I was not expecting that, like so yeah, I just
Are there times that you feel like you may have lost an opportunity at love?
mm, no, I wouldn't say lost. It's like when I honestly like when I think of my life and I think of like when I think back, I honestly try not to regret anything because, any decision I made was a decision I made and I have to live with it.
Right.
So it's
Even
kind
if
of
it were even because it was at that moment, it was important to you to
right.
make that decision or it felt right, right?
Right, exactly. Like, if it's you make decisions for various reasons, and usually you hope it's for the best reason, whether it be the best for you or for the best for the situation. And I think for me, I can't think of a time when I'm just like, you know what, man, I should have dated that guy. Well, it's kind of like, well, why didn't we date? Well, we didn't date because they ghosted me. Or,
Right.
or we didn't date because I just wasn't comfortable around them, or something like that. So I can't say that I really regret any of the people, I guess, that I didn't date.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think things fall into place when they need to, and sometimes we dodge bullets without knowing, or they should have. I look at some people who are actually married now who I dated possibly in my 30s,
Hmm.
and I think I could have had a really good life with them, but it just wasn't the right time. And now that I see them super happy with someone they married, it makes sense. It was something that could have possibly happened if it were a different time or if a different place. It just was off.
Well, and
So,
you're also looking at it from your current perspective,
yes.
because honestly, you probably weren't the same person today that you were back then. Like I look at my very first relationship, which happened when I was in college,
Mhm.
and my first boyfriend and we ended up being together for a little over 8 years. Um, and I look back at the person that I was in that relationship and just kind of laugh because I am not that person today. you know, like,
Right.
like, there are certain things that I've learned about myself, and I've had to sort of change about myself in order to survive. Because in that particular relationship, it was kind of, um, I won't say it was an abusive relationship, but he was very dominant, and I just am very laid back, So it was just, me, I'm very laid back, and so like he just did whatever,
Right.
like whatever he wanted to do. I was like, yeah, it's fine, whatever, doesn't bother me. Now every now and then I'd be like, you know what, I do want to do this. Um, but now I can't imagine being in a relationship with someone who's controlling.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't. Whereas back then I thought, man, we're going to be together forever, you know? And but today I'm
Hmm.
like, no way, no way.
Right. And it's also maybe what what you need at that time? Does that
Right,
make sense? Like,
right.
if you're a little lost and you need someone that kinda takes control, or you feel like they have a lot of, chutzpah, like, they know where they wanna be, and they're confident about it, so you're like, "Okay, well, go ahead, take the lead." Sometimes you're like, "No, I wanna take the lead, and they wanna take the lead," and, there's just kinda like a conflict there,
Well,
so it has
you
to be
know,
a yin yang for everything, really.
I will say the nice thing about aging is that you hopefully figure out what you want and what your needs are. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
it's not a, "Ooh, I figured it out and I'm done." It's a
Mhm.
constant sort of, you know, you're constantly reflecting to say, okay, this is who I am today. This is what I need. This is what I would like from, a
Mhm.
partner, um, or just another person in my life. Um, and it's just kind of, it's a sort of constant thing. Like today, I could probably say, I want the following things, but I also realize that it's like a wish list. It's not necessarily it's, I guess it's not necessarily a have to be. Like I have friends who have lists of qualifications for their potential partner, and it is a hard list. Like
Right.
there's no budging, which for them that works, and I honestly hope that they find it. And I wonder if there's going to be any compromise in that, but
Mhm.
I guess I won't know until it happens. But for me, um, my sort of list of things that I'd like in another person isn't, I guess, as complicated. You know.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, well, we're both single, and I think at some point we're gonna end up returning back to the market. So I think this is has been a really good conversation for folks that are listening that are probably in their 40s or 50s or hell, any age, and just are a little weary about returning to dating and see if the apps are even worth it, or should you just meet people through friends? Um,
I mean, I feel like any way that you can meet people is a good thing. Like
yeah.
you can meet people through friends, through whatever organizations you work at, through
It's the
work.
mindset. Are they ready to
Right,
also,
exactly. Through the apps, it's
yeah.
really just kind of like whatever you're most comfortable with doing, then do it. Some people are not comfortable in the apps, so they
No,
rely on
I
their
have,
friends.
yeah, I have a lot of people I know that, do not like the apps,
Right.
and they, it's, they see it as dangerous or just a waste of time or,
Yes,
you
I
know,
mean, I could see that. And then you have the people who are the complete opposite, who are they live on those apps,
Yep,
you know, and
sure
that's
do.
also perfectly fine if that's what they want
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah, no one's judging. No
Right,
one's judging
exactly.
the 3 a.m. grinder. Bling.
Yeah,
Um, we've all been there, right? So I think it's really, as we age, we all want partners long term. We want someone that we can laugh with and live the rest of our lives with, hopefully. Um, but I think it's okay also to have any type of relationships. We're social beings. So if that one only lasts a year, 2 or 6 months, or 2 weeks, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. The goal is to have something long term, but sometimes you just have to learn from relationships and have those experiences with that person for the amount of time that it lasted. And you shouldn't beat yourself up about it, right?
right. I honestly hope that, like if you're in a relationship and the relationship ends, then I hope that you learn something about yourself and what you need from another person, because a lot of people, um, I hope that that's what they do. Like anytime a relationship ever ends with me, then I kind of sit and reflect once again. I'm
Yes.
kind of like, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what did I
What
like
do you
about
really
this
want?
person?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I thought I wanted somebody who's going to make me laugh 24/7, but I didn't. Or
Yeah.
um, it's just kind of
And what's really important because, some things that you found or you were looking for that like that, someone that makes you laugh and you're like, okay, no, but what I really want is integrity or character
right,
or,
exactly.
they don't
Like
have to be funny, but at least they're not liars.
right. You definitely want somebody who's not necessarily going to hurt you, but then again, everybody's needs are different.
Yeah.
So like
And they change.
exactly. So we could say all these things for ourselves, but for other people out there, for people listening to this, they might have very different needs. They might have certain specific needs, like they might have certain fetishes that they like feet, like
Yeah.
um or other things that they like, that they're looking for in a person. So
Have
it's
you
really
ever not dated someone because I know there was another episode where we were talking about the haters that said, "If you were thinner,
mhm.
I'd date you." Have you ever rejected someone because of their feet or because they keep their fingernails too long or you just don't like the way they, put their hair or something?
No, I've never rejected someone for something like that.
Be honest.
I would say, most of the people who I decided not to be with, it was because of how they made me feel.
Right.
Like most of the people who I'm thinking back on, who I just said, no, we can't be together, it was because you made me feel in a way that I did not want to feel.
Yeah.
you know, then that's what it boiled down to for me. It didn't.
Or yeah, for me, it's like stressed. If we are in different situations and I feel stressed or I feel anxious and I don't feel comfortable, like like it just has to flow and feel. I don't like the saying of like, wow, you got to be friends with a, it's not the same thing. Y-
Right,
You have to. There's like a unspoken respect thing there, but also just a meshing. Like
right,
personalities meshing, like. Um, that has to be there, I think.
yes.
'Cause
That
if
makes
not,
sense.
it's just you're not in sync. You're on different wavelengths, and then you just end up, clashing.
And which I mean, and then clashing is not always a bad thing because um it's in my mind like I don't want to be with somebody who's going to be exactly like me or think exactly like me because
Right,
that closes me off to seeing a different way of thinking, because there have been plenty of times when my boyfriend or, wanted to do something that I didn't want to do and then I did it and I'm like, "Man, this is actually really fun. I never would have thought about doing this." Or um it's just kind of like keeping that open mind. Like for instance, obviously like when I mentioned my ex-husband and I often have very different ways of thinking.
mhm,
He will say something and and I would just roll my eyes and just kind of be like, "Listen, I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't understand why you want me to do this." And then I try and I'm like, "Okay, this actually makes sense. Like I
right,
totally understand why you would do it this way now." But I never would have learned that had I not tried.
right.
So, I
It's all
appreciate
about
it.
learning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I appreciate that difference of opinion and that difference of thought.
yeah.
So
Brings something different, and
yes.
it makes you learn, you know?
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, thank you for your insight, James. Lovely speaking with you as always.
You too.
Thank you, and, if you guys like today's episode, please, remember to like and subscribe so we can do more of these for you, and, that wraps things up for today. I'm sure we'll be talking about this subject in future episodes. Thanks again, James, and have a wonderful night.
You too.
Thank